In late 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, barely 34, seized the national stage by leading a popular coup in Burkina Faso, in a nation battered by terrorism, corruption, and foreign manipulation. His youthful energy and blunt anti-imperialist rhetoric captured the hearts of millions. Traoré promised what so many before him had not delivered: true sovereignty, security, and dignity for his people. But with revolutionary dreams come revolutionary enemies. Rumors swirled. Intelligence sources whispered of two major assassination attempts against Traoré within his first year in power. The first, insiders claimed, was orchestrated by disgruntled elites tied to the ousted regime. The second, darker and more intricate, allegedly bore the fingerprints of external forces unhappy with Burkina Faso's shifting alliances and Pan-African stance. Each time, Traoré survived, but each attempt hardened his resolve. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré took power in September 2022, many celebrated. Streets across Ouagadougou and beyond filled with cheering crowds, waving flags and chanting slogans of liberation. But in the shadows, the gears of conspiracy were already turning. The earliest threat came not from the outside, but from within the shattered fragments of the previous regime. High-ranking officials loyal to former President Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba, many of whom had built cozy ties with foreign powers, were furious. Traoré's initial actions dismissing top military brass, freezing suspicious overseas bank accounts, and reviewing mining contracts threatened decades of entrenched privilege. According to leaked reports, a secret cabal of ex-officers convened just weeks after Traoré's takeover. Their plan was simple: remove the young captain before he consolidated power. Sources suggest that an ambush was planned during one of Traoré's unannounced visits to the northern battlefront, where he often personally motivated soldiers fighting terrorism. Had it succeeded, Burkina Faso would have descended into chaos, clearing the path for a foreign-backed interim government to restore order. But a tip-off from loyalists inside the military derailed the plot at the last moment. Arrests were quietly made. No public announcement followed. Traoré's camp chose resilience over scandal. The second attempt, far more sinister, unfolded in 2023. Traoré had by then formalized several sweeping reforms. He expelled French military forces, sought military partnerships with Russia and China, and pushed for Pan-African alliances independent of the West. These moves directly challenged foreign interests whose power was built on African division. Several investigative journalists later revealed that foreign mercenaries, operating under cover of security advisors, attempted to infiltrate Traoré's security detail. Their mission was surgical: orchestrate an internal security mishap that could be spun as an unfortunate accident. Again, Traoré's security intelligence, bolstered by loyal Sahelian allies from Mali and Niger, exposed the infiltration. A chilling report stated, "This was not merely an assassination attempt. It was an operation designed to fracture Burkina Faso's new nationalist momentum and reinstall an externally controlled leadership." Burkina Faso had become a battleground not just of weapons, but of sovereignty itself. Every speech Traoré gave after these attempts carried a new weight. He was no longer just the leader of a struggling nation. He was the living symbol of Africa's fight for true independence. True to his word, Traoré immediately embarked on bold reforms, expelling foreign military forces seen as ineffective or manipulative, nationalizing key mining sectors, especially gold, to benefit Burkinabe's citizens, prioritizing rural development over urban elite interests, overhauling the security apparatus, purging compromised generals, forging new alliances with African and non-Western partners, including Russia and other BRICS nations. These moves won him massive support from ordinary Africans and equal hatred from old colonial and neo-colonial interests. Burkina Faso, rich in gold, zinc, and manganese, had long been a playground for foreign corporations. Traoré's insistence that Burkinabe resources must serve Burkinabe people first directly threatened billion-dollar contracts and multinational interests. Was it any wonder that unseen hands moved to destabilize his leadership? Traoré wasn't just thinking locally. He became a loud voice calling for African unity, echoing the dreams of Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, and Patrice Lumumba. He proposed a West African military alliance independent of France, a common African mining policy to resist exploitation, support for neighboring juntas in Mali and Niger pursuing similar anti-imperialist paths. His cry was clear: Africa for Africans. Leaked documents and whistleblower reports painted a disturbing picture. Foreign intelligence agencies meddling in Burkina Faso's internal politics, economic sabotage efforts through sanctions and withholding aid, attempts to co-opt military officers within Traoré's inner circle. Foreign powers, threatened by Traoré's reforms and Pan-African dreams, sought to turn Burkina Faso into another cautionary tale against resisting neocolonialism. The winds of neocolonialism rarely announce themselves with banners and drums. They whisper, they undermine, and they disguise sabotage as support. Burkina Faso, under Traoré's bold leadership, had become a prime target for such interference. Investigative leaks and whistleblower testimonies from intelligence insiders, later corroborated by independent African media, revealed a chilling map of foreign interference. Foreign intelligence operatives embedded in aid agencies monitoring Traoré's movements and gathering sensitive political intelligence. Massive cyber operations aimed at hacking government communications and leaking false information to destabilize public trust. Financing opposition groups, providing them with media platforms to discredit reforms and sow discontent among urban populations. One particularly damning report cited a Western diplomat stating, "Traoré must be taught that sovereignty is a negotiation, not a demand." In other words, Burkina Faso's independence was unacceptable unless it bowed to foreign interests. Economic weapons. While assassins lurked in shadows, economic sanctions struck openly. Aid, once abundant, was now restricted. Loans were delayed or canceled under the pretext of governance concerns. International mining companies, unhappy with Traoré's push for national control, launched lawsuits and investment freezes that crippled Burkina Faso's economy temporarily. The goal was clear: starve the government financially, stir public unrest, and force the regime to either collapse or compromise. But Traoré refused to buckle. Instead, he pivoted. He strengthened new trade ties with BRICS nations. He encouraged local entrepreneurship to reduce dependency. He championed a new regional financial system, free from the West African CFA franc, colonial relic still used by several African nations. Burkina Faso's fight mirrored broader battles in Mali and Niger, where new military leaders also resisted foreign domination. Together, they formed a fragile but passionate Sahel alliance, a Pan-African dream in the making. Yet, this resistance came at a high price: economic sabotage, diplomatic isolation, media demonization, painting Traoré and his allies as dictators while ignoring their popular support among their people. In truth, what Burkina Faso faced was not a crisis of governance, it was a crisis of sovereignty. Traoré's crime was simple: he dared to believe that Africa could exist without permission from Paris, Washington, or London. And for that, invisible hands were willing to spill blood. Many Burkinabe now see Traoré as the modern incarnation of Thomas Sankara, the legendary African Che Guevara who dreamed of a self-reliant Africa before being assassinated in 1987, allegedly with foreign complicity. Traoré publicly embraced this legacy, stating, "Sankara's blood waters the tree of our freedom. We must not let it die in vain." Despite the threats and economic warfare, Traoré's government achieved remarkable milestones. Significant reduction of terrorist attacks in northern Burkina Faso. Record levels of gold revenue redirected to public programs. Free healthcare initiatives in several rural regions. Launch of a national military manufacturing program to reduce dependency. Strengthen regional alliances with Mali and Niger to create a united Sahel bloc. Traoré's journey highlights a brutal truth. African nations are not truly free if foreign powers dictate their security, economy, and destiny. The assassination plots against him are not just against one man, they are an attack against the very idea of African self-determination. Pan-Africanism isn't a dream of the past, it's the necessity of the present. If Africa doesn't unite against exploitation, it will forever remain divided and weakened. As of 2025, Ibrahim Traoré stands wounded by betrayals, strengthened by struggle, and still smiling. He knows the dangers he faces. He knows his enemies are powerful. But he also knows that history is on his side, and the youth of Africa, inspired by his courage, are rising with him. The struggle continues, but for the first time in decades, hope feels real. Africa must be allowed to exist without foreign interference. Africa must be free. If this trending true life update interests you, subscribe, share, and follow WhistleVibe'z for more Pan-African and global hidden news.